I realized that a lot of the things that I would do to treat a cold are also beneficial to treat allergies. So, for instance, all of the usual stuff, the steaming, the eucalyptus oil, all of that is obviously good for both.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Mini Drop with me, Amber Berger, and my co-host,
Dina Wismer.
We are going to dive into what is happening with us as busy moms each week and kind of dive into our own home hacks and share that with you. And if you're struggling with something and you want to discuss it, please send us a DM on social media and we will talk about it as well. I think right now everyone is struggling with allergies. I happen to be in Miami and someone had just told me I have to cross check it, but it's the worst pollen season on record. And my son typically actually suffers from allergies. And sometimes it's hard to know, like, is it a cold? Is it allergies?
Yep.
What is it?
I
How
was
are
going to say
you doing,
that's
Dina?
always a struggle. For me, it's always a struggle to know what's actually happening, to identify, are we sick? Is it a cold? Is it allergy? And after years of watching this season in my house and trying to understand it, I realized that a lot of the things that I would do to treat a cold are also beneficial to treat allergies. So, for instance, all of the usual stuff, the steaming, the eucalyptus oil, all of that is obviously good for both. Supplement-wise, quercetin, nettle leaf, obviously vitamin C and vitamin D, all of those things are good, as I've been told by the experts, good whether you have allergies or good whether it's a cold. So it's wonderful to think that, okay, I don't need to stress so much about whether this is a cold or allergies because I'm going to do the same stuff to treat it. And even if it's allergies, your body may need a little bit of rest and time to detox, just like it would with a cold. One of my favorite things to do, Amber, that I'm drinking as we talk, is to make a tea where you boil and simmer lemon, ginger, garlic, and cayenne pepper let it simmer for about 30 minutes. I also threw some onion in there today just for make it extra
Extra spicy.
extra spicy. And then at the end, put some honey so it tastes a little bit better. And just sip on that several times throughout the day. I find that it really helps to clear me up. It really helps my immune system during the stressful time of year. I find the transition just generally from winter to spring to be really taxing on the body. Do you have that even though you're in Florida?
Yeah, so I think number one, daylight savings. Obviously, we all just had that the other last week, and everyone's kind of dragging. I'm dragging to wake up in the darkness is hard for me. I actually prefer to wake up into the sunshine, but I do love longer days, so I can't really complain. Um, I do like that you have this little tea that you make. I'm gonna have to try this concoction. That probably it sounds so warming and nurturing. But what I always struggle with is I do the quercetin as well. I actually use a product called D-Hist Junior for my kids.
Yep, me too.
And you're supposed to actually take it before allergy season hits. Now, since moving to Miami, I still haven't really nailed when allergies start because I happen to live in a neighborhood with a ton of trees. So you can either be in a neighborhood where it's a little bit more manicured and there's not as many trees. But why my neighborhood is amazing is we have like all these old like oak trees and maple trees, and they're so beautiful, but they shed. It's like fall and spring. If you saw my
Yeah.
front yard, it's crazy. So, and we see the actual pollen from the trees on the floor in my area. Um, and so that's happening right now, but I always forget and I always kick myself that around January or end of December, I should start the DHIS Junior so that your body has this buildup and then supposedly your reaction to the seasonal changes will be less severe. I happen to have forgotten to do that this year, but luckily I'm shocked that I actually feel okay. My brother,
That's
my
good.
dad, not so much. My son is actually not that bad. This is the best he's ever been.
That's great.
Um, which I don't know, it just depends on your histamine levels. What is interesting, because we were just talking about this at dinner last night, is we happen to not be eating red meat right now. And I think red meat, also, I'm a big fan of bone broth. They happen to be higher in histamines. And I think that that might be the link as to why our allergies are a little bit less severe this year.
That's amazing.
That's the only thing that we have changed, and it's just kind of an interesting correlation I've discovered. I'm gonna have to actually research it and see if there's been studies on it, and if there are, we will link it in the episode. Um, but yeah, we were just talking about how interesting that is. And I think allergy season's tough. Every year we do struggle. Some past things that I have done for my family, and I think you may have done it too, is some homeopathic drops that you can, there are, some doctors out there, you can find them, that they will test your urine, and then based upon that, you can see what allergies you have. And within that, it could be food sensitivities, it could be tree, grass, all environmental as well. And then they give you these liquid homeopathic drops to take, and you take them for about 6 weeks and retest yourself and see how you're doing. And that also can help to minimize the severity of your body's reaction during this time of year, because
Yeah.
it's challenging.
I've
And
found that to be very helpful too. Oh, we've done that as well. And I've seen that make a huge difference for food allergies that my kids are at. Not, when I say allergies, more sensitivity. It's not true allergy, but sensitivity is to calm down the reaction they're having to certain foods. Yeah, that's a great idea. Actually, maybe I'll revisit that right now.
Right. It's a good time. It's good to also have these reminders. Like, we know so much of like what we're supposed to do, but sometimes you just forget to do them
Yeah,
because life
life
gets
is
busy.
busy. Life is very busy. And sleep. I mean, I'm a big believer in making sure you're getting enough sleep. We've been running ourselves ragged, busy, basketball tournaments, bar mitzvah, parties, all kinds of stuff. Just this is the time of year, I think, where people come out of the shadows, which is great. And people want to be together and they want to celebrate happy things. And there's all the normal activities on top of it. And I think it's just really important to remember that your body still needs support and rest, and is transitioning, this major transition from winter to spring. And without proper rest, you're not going to feel as good. And I
I
think,
love that you bring that up. I think that is such an important reminder to all of us, especially busy moms. I agree. Like, this weekend was a double header, Saturday, Sunday basketball tournament. I had a triple header yesterday of a lunch with a friend, 2 birthday parties, plus the basketball tournament. I mean, it's kind of intense when your kids get to a certain age. My brother's like, "Well, just don't do any of it." Like, why are you, just don't engage? But that's not reality. He only has a 2-year-old. So I said, report back when your child is 10 plus, and let's see what your weekends look like. It's very different, I think, our generation compared to how we grew up. It's very busy. And it's almost like we have to force that rest day and bake that into
definitely.
the calendar as well. Like, we got the activities down and that's scheduled, but we need to actually schedule in that rest day. I think it's so important.
Well, I'm a big believer in that if many religions have the same principle, there's a reason that humans did that. And having a rest day is something that is common up among many religions. And there's a reason, because we need it. And yeah, I'm a big believer in having, I don't always have it. Let me be clear. I believe in having it.
Now you need to
I
just
think it's
prioritize it.
essential, but it is hard to find. But it's a gift when you can make it happen.
So remind me the tea that you're making at home right now. What is in it?
So I don't think that the amounts are so important. It's really what you feel that you can handle and like. I use 1 whole lemon, and
Mhm.
put the whole, cut it in half, squeeze it, and then drop organic, washed, drop it in. I use this time 2 garlic cloves, maybe a teaspoon of ginger, quarter of an onion, and maybe a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and just covered it with water. I can't even tell you, maybe 2 cups of water or something like that, maybe less. And then about a tablespoon of honey at the end, and let it simmer for 30 minutes. But again, for me, I don't really even measure. It's really what I'm feeling how much I feel like I need, how intense I feel like I can handle at the moment. Obviously, if I'm making it for my children, I can make it much, much less intense. And even if it's just the lemon and honey, I think it's helpful.
Great
Let
start.
it
And what
simmer.
kind of honey do you use?
Great question. Always look for organic and raw. Right now, I did have Manuka honey in the house, which is always great. the more natural you can get, the better. Read your labels as you do with everything else. And you want it to, you don't want it to be too clear, right? Like the more murky it looks, the more good stuff is probably in there for you.
Yeah, and actually, another good tip that I had learned is that if you really you can find in your local farmers market, if you
Exactly.
have raw local honey, that
Yep.
actually can help you with your allergies because it's
Yep.
the local environment. So if you start taking that even 30, 60 days, just the lemon and honey or honey by itself, a
Yep.
spoonful, it's supposed to help minimize your allergy response
Yep.
during the prime season.
We do that as well. And if you don't have time to go to the farmer's market, a lot of major supermarkets, Whole Foods, things like that have local honeys they
Right.
sell
You
in them
just
now.
have to look. I like
Yeah.
the raw local, and then Manuka is
Yeah.
always
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of my backup as well.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of our allergy
My
tip.
dream is to make my own someday, but that's a whole other story.
Okay. You're putting it out
We'll
there
see.
today,
We'll
Gina.
see in New York City how possible that is.
I like it. You're gonna be a little beekeeper.
Knowing me, I'd have a whole beekeeping thing in my apartment just to add to the chaos.
Did you see the tennis at Indian Wells got swarmed by bees and had to be shut
It's
down? Oh, you gotta go look this up online in case you haven't seen that. It is crazy. I've never seen anything like it. It's pretty fascinating. But thank you for being with us today. We will
Thank you.
continue to share our Amber and Dina insider tips to help you as busy moms just navigate the, finding calm in the chaos. And the struggle is real. We're
Get your
feeling
sleep.
it. Yeah. Get your sleep. Schedule in that rest day. Those are your two big takeaways. All right. Thank you
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.